Hey, welcome back to Fake Deep Thinking. Just a group of friends sitting down talking about news, culture, and sometimes politics. Let's introduce the crew. We have John,
Yeah, what's up? I'm gonna fix my black ass shadow in a second.
Doc
Yo.
with his cadence, Ian in the figurative back, and he's not saying anything, and myself, Eugene. So we're a little late. Well, first off, we didn't do last week because Doc is volunteering for South by Southwest. So we're gonna do Tuesdays as you're seeing now. We're live on Tuesdays instead. So we're gonna be doing Tuesdays for now while he's got that going on.
Yeah,
And-
my bad, y'all.
Hey, South by Southwest is fun. I don't blame you. And well, that's basically all the updates, which we didn't have last week because of South by Southwest. We're kind of late, and that's mainly because Ian and I are doing another renovation, so it took us a while to get back home. And yeah, I think that's about the updates. Let's jump right into the first topic. The first topic we're going to do is this funny video John sent me over the weekend, and I died laughing. I had to call Ian, like, Ian, come see this. And we just lost it analyzing this video, trying to hear the infamous Acorn. So if y'all haven't seen this video, enjoy this. So let's pull up the video. Let's watch the video first, Ian. So quick context. A cop hears an acorn and proceeds to completely unload his firearm. So pull up the video. Let's watch it.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! You know. I'm hit! I'm hit! What? I'm not! In the car! I was shot through the car! Oh!
You can stop it here, Ian. Because at this point, it's basically just the his hiding behind the car. Eventually, some, I think, innocent bystanders come by and ask if he's okay. He says okay, and then eventually the rest of the patrol basically comes to provide coverage. You're muted, John. You're muted.
He didn't say he was okay. He said he was hit.
He was
He said,
hit.
"I'm hit."
No,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
the
he said
funniest
hit.
part. Was he shouted, "I'm hit! I'm hit! Hit by what?" Anyway, before we get into that, because obviously we know afterwards there was an acorn. We don't know yet. So let's take a moment real quick. Ian,
That
go to the second.
investigation will never come out.
So now go to the video below it, Ian, from his partner's point of view. Now let's watch that video real quick.
Jesse! Jesse, are you okay?
All the way from the beginning.
Do you know your tag number off the top of your head? Okay, it's okay. What? What? Oh! Where? Right there? Jesse! Jesse, are you okay? Get in the house! Get in the house! Jesse! Get back! Get back! Where is he? Where is he?
In the car! Now he's shot through the car!
43, give me traffic. Shots fired. Shots fired. I got a deputy down.
That's probably good enough. We don't need to see the rest of it. So, yeah, I want to see the perpetrator. Yeah.
All right, let me show you all the perpetrator.
It's gonna be a squirrel. It's gonna be a squirrel. It's gonna be a squirrel. You're gonna show us a squirrel.
No, he's gonna show the actual acorn. The split set. I saw it. I saw the pixel chain. Yeah, right there. You can see it. You can see it. You can see it. That's so funny. And then it's there.
You can
God,
see it drop.
dude, that is
So did they arrest the squirrel?
I don't know, but
Nah,
that's
I
one hell
think
of
he
an
got
assassin.
lit up, dude.
I think he got away.
So the funniest part is, Ian, if you go down to, let's see which post, you got the video, second video, then you got a link to the full YouTube video, then you got the first article, second one, third, it's the second, what's that one, right? The Acorn one. Page 13 of 14. can't see if that's the one you're clicking on. No, go up. Go up. That one. Yes. So Deputy Hernandez asked Acorn. Investigator Hogan answered Acorn. Investigator.
This is like a fucking skip from a movie, man. Like even the
Dude.
fucking tactical roll, they're like shots.
That's what I lost it when I first saw this. Like his literal tactical rolls were insane. Investigator Hernandez asked Deputy Hernandez if he thought it was possible that the noise he heard, which he had interpreted as a gunshot from a suppressed firearm, was actually the noise of the Acorn striking the roof of his patrol vehicle next to him. Deputy Hernandez answered, "I'm not gonna say no, because I mean but what I 10-second pause in speaking, what I heard 3-second pause in speaking sounded almost like 12-second pause in speaking. What I heard sounded what I think could be louder than an acorn hitting the roof of the car, but there's obviously an acorn hitting the roof of the car."
Dude, where did he send the bullets though? Like, where did he send those rounds?
And so you're right. You're right.
One, did he shoot his own car up?
Yeah. So thank you, Doc. Thank you for getting me back on track. I'm too busy laughing at this. So the reason why they're there is they were there to arrest a perpetrator. Specifically, what the arrest was for, I'm not privy to, but he's been arrested. He's in handcuffs inside the car. So when he heard the gunshot, he thought the guy somehow inside the car got access to a gun, and he unloaded into the car where the perp is, assuming it's him, and that's where the partner starts unloading her firearm then into the car. So they're shooting at the perp in the car.
Wait, I didn't actually catch that. She shoots also?
She unloads also. Ian, if you want to go now, click out of that link and scroll up to go down. That one right there. Yep, right there. So Deputy Jesse Hernandez, the facts of evidence show he has used deadly force against Jackson was not objectively reasonable. But Sergeant Beth Roberts, her discharge of deadly force was objectively reasonable. And that's obviously because you hear your freaking partner saying, shots fired, I'm hit. Like she's like panic mode, like blah, blah, blah. Understand her. But yeah, she discharged her firearm into the car.
Is exonerated. Is sustained.
Okay, two. Question number 2. Why does he not know what a gunshot sounds like?
It's right next to you, dude, and you're just that's some crazy PTSD. I'm gonna call it PTSD.
Suppressed.
I'm gonna call it
Question
PTSD.
number 3. This is the most important question. It's not even really a question, to be honest. This is the most important statement. Am I the only one? Oh, it's a question. Am I the only one overthinking, not overthinking, overanalyzing the fact that he said I'm hit, and
Yes, I thought this.
what psychological state he has to actually be in for him to say such an obvious, like, how distressed you have to be to think you're shot?
I'm gonna take it a step farther, John.
Hit him.
I'm gonna take it a step farther. It's not mental stress or whatever. I would call it training. You have to know the difference. Like, maybe this is a wild assumption on my part, but I don't think adrenaline would make you not feel like you probably feel something. I don't know what that something is, but I think you could I remember when I first showed it with Ian. Ian was saying he had to have landed on his depending where he thought he got shot, he had to have landed on his belt, his flashlight, his vest, be it a button or the plate itself. Like it had to have been something to puncture him, to pinch him, or something like that. And he interpreted that as him getting hit. Like I don't know what to call that, but training. Like he's trained to instantly assume hit.
But the timing is off on that. From him hearing the acorn and him saying I'm hit. First off,
it was
anybody
after he
who's
rolled.
actually shot, they're gonna lead with I'm hit before they lead with shots fired. He said shots fired, did 4 quadruple rolls, pulled out his gun, shot out his clip,
and then screamed I'm hit.
I'm hit.
Yeah, I mean, for the girl to hear I'm hit, I'm pretty sure that's already her going
adrenaline
into full force. Yeah.
I mean, you literally saw that. Like you hear in the background, I'm hit, and she's like, "What?" And she full on panics. Like that, in my opinion, it was like a minor panic, but it was a panic.
Yeah, because she can't she doesn't have the time to be like, "Are you sure?" Like,
yeah.
But also John's point, why would you say that?
It was that's why I'm probably the asshole here, but that's why I would say he's trained to do that because it escalates the situation and
I'm
justifies the
thinking,
force.
yes, I'm thinking more along that line because when you say that, that means you're quick to say other shit too, in my opinion, bro.
I
Like,
I'm
like to me, you're leaking. To be honest with you, you're
he
leaking a
leaked.
little bit
He
because
leaked a
when that
lot
pressure
of
gets
it.
put upon thee, I feel like you go say whatever you need to say to fit the situation, so for you to get out of it. But
That might be it too, where he's trying to set up the situation to where it just justifies him freaking out, screaming shots fired. I mean, he could also be an idiot, or he
That's
could
another
also,
problem in itself.
yeah,
I mean, it could be both.
yeah,
But
yeah.
to
The
that point
training
too,
set him
it
up to
also
be really
shows
traumatized, I guess, or like really tense.
he was panicking because his response of "I'm hit" to justify the means he was using is a short. It's a not a long-lived lie or anything like that. It's very short-lived because it'll immediately be disproven. So like at that moment, he was only trying to justify it to the officer, his partner that was with him, versus him actually analyzing the situation and realizing like me saying I'm hit doesn't really long run like even the
Oh,
partner, she's gonna find out he's not hit in the next minute.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
furious if I was the partner.
I do have a,
I would have been furious.
Did
I
the
do have
dude
a
in the
third
car get hit?
question too. Yeah, is the guy in the car okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
So they also suck.
Um,
I know,
dude,
right?
that
Here
dude
was
was
the
just
sound
doing the
effect.
Matrix.
Oh my god. Oh man. What was another point I was gonna make? Um, oh, to John's point about the whole lack of analyzing the situation. I would also assume if you're getting fired upon, especially if you're a police officer getting fired upon, they're not just doing one shot. Like, oh, I'm just gonna do one shot and what turn around and leave. Oh, I missed. I'm done shooting. Like, I, I literally don't know what going through his mind. Like, oh, it's if it was one shot, then it had to have been a sniper. Because there's no way someone's gonna do one shot in your close proximity and then not want to shoot extra shots. And look at you, for example. You heard one shot and you unloaded the clip. So you thought one person just made one simple shot in your direction and like that's it? Like there's no
And in the
situational
middle of the
awareness
street.
there.
And in the middle of the street. He didn't even get behind nothing. That man rolled straight to the middle of the street and turned around.
That man pulled a Helldiver's dive and just started spraying.
yeah, he did. He really did.
Yo.
Right. Yeah, that
Oh
is true though. He
wow.
heard one shot and then the response. I guess I don't know. I've never it's a that's a life and death situation he thinks he's in. So it's tough to say like, oh, don't empty the clip. So I don't want to speak to that. But it didn't take much. I feel like it didn't take much.
Oh man, but I'm glad the guy lived, but I think it has to say something that both those officers unloaded the clip. I don't think they reloaded and proceeded to continue to unload. So both of them unloaded at the very least a 10+1 round. So that's 22 shots. And I don't know the penetration power of not. I'm assuming it's a 9mm of 9mm into a car, but that's wild that they didn't hit anything and they
Oh, that
shot
man
22
innocent.
shots.
Well, that's what makes me wonder. What were they
Whatever they
shooting
arrested him
at?
for, he didn't do it. Go ahead,
I'm gonna
Doc.
see if I.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, what were they shooting at? Like, were they trying to shoot the suspect in cuffs in the car, or did they think there was
Yes, that's
another
the
assailant
assumption.
there? Like,
No, they thought it was the guy in the car shot at him, pretty much.
Because
that's wild, man.
you see in his perspective unload into that car, and you see in hers that she's also unloading into the car. It's hard to tell, but both directions are at the car. You can kind of see in the video again the glass breaking a little bit.
Yeah, you do, and I think he also mentions the car too.
He does mention the car, that's right. Because in her perspective, she's like, "Where?" And he said, "Car," in the car. So they're shooting in at the car.
Fucking Florida, bro. Florida man's crazy.
Man, I'm not gonna put Florida. I'm not gonna scrutinize the entirety of Florida. This is just like a
Yeah,
dumb
okay.
cop.
Yeah, all right.
John's like, nah.
Yeah,
Florida folks be. Yeah, I think they still eating bath salts out there.
Oh my God!
Oh,
you
so
go.
he resigned. I mean, you kind of have to.
I
but
mean,
yeah.
do you know? First
Okay.
off, do you know the teasing he probably would have got
It should have
just
been
from the
more than
rest of the
teasing,
other
but
cops?
yeah,
Bro,
the
they probably
jokes were
mailed him
gay.
a fucking acorn or some shit
Yeah,
like
dude, a bag of acorns. Like for the rest of his life, bro. On the anniversary of this day, I'm sending him a bag of acorns.
that. Pretty much, yeah.
On the day of they celebrate his retirement, like you're finally retiring. Here's an acorn cake.
I'm not even fucking sending him. I'm just gonna throw a bag of acorns on his lawn and drive off.
Just throw him on his car. Just get an acorn gun and shoot the acorn gun.
No, man, you get shot.
Damn, bro, you trying to get shot? He already proved he shoots
Yeah,
so
man.
bad.
That's it. Right?
He's
I would've
gonna
called
do
Jimmy
the
Neutron.
Max Payne dive with the shooting, like.
I would have called him Jimmy Neutron.
Dang,
Okay,
John, you
you
still
with
struggling to
him.
some
There we go.
contrast in your camera, huh?
Man, my black ass, bro. Look, but I fixed it. I figured it out.
My man's a problem solver.
There we go.
So, not to dive real quick before we move on, not to divulge into this. We've had this conversation. I'm pretty sure like numerous times in this podcast, but it just goes to my point that like I really think that the standards to be a police officer need to be way higher. And John or maybe Doc or both of y'all have told me, well, if that's the case, they got to be paid more. Completely agree. Like yeah, we've had this discussion again, and the standard for policing needs to be increased, like crazily increased. Like I don't know. I don't know. In my opinion, it just is not enough. I don't know.
I honestly think it's a crazy issue that's at odds with itself. Like people want hyper elite, well trained, competent law enforcement, but at the same time, the attitude towards law enforcement isn't there. Like it's in conflict with it. Like people don't like cops, people don't want to be cops, people don't want to like even in like major cities now, like you have people or not even people, but like you have precincts offering like crazy sign-on bonuses to become a cop because people don't want to become cops right now, especially after the summer of protests. And you know, it had its issues, so rightfully so. Like people are against it, but it's just there's a bad taste in a lot of Americans' mouths when it comes to the idea of policing. But at the same time, people are asking for the best of the best, and it's just like the best of the best are smart enough to be like, I don't have to do that work. I can do better work without having to deal with that problem. And, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's not even better work. It's just it honestly. I think it just comes down to pay. That why would I do this when I can do something else and get paid more? I can be a private security guard for some A-list, B-list celebrity.
That's true, yeah.
And I could get paid way more than this, or like join a security firm or something, whatever they're called. Like the incentive to be a police officer is not there, as you just said, and I 100% agree with that. The issue also doesn't help with the image of police officers because of how policing is. It's a quota system that does not make sense. That there's a saying after every quarter, everyone jokes, oh, it must be the end of the month or end of the quarter because you see the amount of police suddenly patrolling. It's like, oh, they got to get their numbers up. Like, it doesn't make sense that the policing system runs based off of quotas, literally incentivized to make crime because you have to meet your numbers to get funding. That doesn't make sense. You literally, if the crime is low, you should get more funding because that means you're doing your job. If crime is high, less money. But that also doesn't make sense, but at least it makes more sense than what it currently is.
I do actually wonder the truth of the quota system, like because I've never actually seen a written policy of the quota system, but I've always heard about it. And like you said, I've always heard the jokes of it. So I would actually wonder if they would publish that kind of policy for the general public to see.
Cops have said the same. Like they're retired cops and current cops have said the same thing, that there is a quota. I don't know how strenuous or like how it's set up. If you say a quota for a bonus, or I don't know how the reward system works, but there is a quota. I don't even know if it's still a thing that's going on. I just know
To be
it's
completely
going up.
fair, maybe using the term quota is not the accurate word to use, or they misuse the word quota, and I'm using that word. It might just be, as John said, a bonus system. And how you get your bonus is you have X amount of arrests, X amount of speeding tickets, X amount of whatever the standard is. You reach that number and you get access to this tier of bonus. And every higher number you get to the next bonus tier. That's how most sales jobs work. In my sales job I had, you literally had to get this X number. If you met that X number, you were guaranteed your annual salary. Obviously, not to get fired, pretty much. Then, if you wanted to get a bonus, you had to meet this number to get into the third tier, this number to get in the second tier, and then this number to get in the top tier bonus. I'm sure that's probably how they're doing it in their bonus system in police officers, which make no sense. It's incentivizing making criminals.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like, I don't think you should. You have to solve 10 cases by the end of the month. Oh fuck, I've only been given 4 cases. Now I got to create the other 6 just so I can get to that. I would definitely agree with that. Like, any kind of systems like that should be reworked. I'm just kind of wondering how deep those policies run in the systems and stuff like that. I've honestly never looked at police work to review it and see if they should rework it. So,
but honestly, I don't think I do think that's a problem, but I think the bigger problem that I think the quota narrative I think comes into play more. And I don't have anything to back this up. I could be wrong. This is an assumption here, but I think part of their funding comes from the numbers they produce also, because police officers are paid through taxes.
yeah.
So therefore, the governors or whoever's in charge of it has to allocate certain amount of funding towards the police officers. How do you determine how much funding has to go to police officers? Probably through the amount of arrests they make, whatever the criteria is. That's probably where the quotas come through. If a certain precinct wants more money, you have to prove to the head honcho we need more money. Why? Well,
Also, if they don't reach certain numbers, the budget will be decreased.
Which doesn't make sense, but that's probably how it works.
Because if you think about it, if it's split up on the governorial level or whatever the fuck it is,
I think it's
then
yeah.
it'd be like, for example, at my workplace, the whatever department you are, the department head is given a lump sum of money or percentage of money, and then he has to divvy it out to the employees. And when you balance it all out, it may end up being like $1 each or something like that. You know what I'm saying? If you have a fixed budget to work with and you're distributing it amongst precincts, there has to be some type of metric you use for you to determine which precinct gets more money based on the year, whatever happened during the year. So, to his point, there has to be some type of competition for whatever metric that is.
I just think that's the wrong metric or system for policing. I want cops sitting on their butts, not doing anything. That means that's a good thing. If cops are sitting on their butts, not doing anything, they're probably bored. Probably the most boring job if that gets implemented. But hey, you're paid to not do anything. But if stuff happens, you better the whole 9 yards or whatever. And again, I'm ranting at this point. I'm sorry. And if y'all got things to say, I'll shut up.
No, I just think it's really complicated because it's city management at that point, and then who knows what the numbers that they have to protest are. Because I'm sure the major cities are the ones that are like, hey, we have real problems, we need most of the funding and stuff like that, and then the little counties are just satellites.
And then again, I'm sorry, I don't want to rant, but I want to get this out. But the problem with the city arguments, and I agree with what you said, but my issue with that though is they don't even prosecute or put those people in jail. They release them. And I'm strictly speaking about New York, for example. You have people who go to jail for actual crimes and they get released the next day. You're not actually doing your job. And yet, again, we have an actual issue with our policing that needs to be addressed.
Prison capacity is also a major issue.
That's because we're creating criminals.
Exactly. You have overcrowding a lot. A lot people getting out early due to overcrowding. It's very common.
Because was an argument you said in the past, John, which I'm going to use as a segue to our next topic, which is we have a bunch of people who are in jail for what marijuana possession and the like, and they shouldn't. Like, why are you in jail?
Why are
That's
you
either
looking at killers and why
that
are you in the same place with killers? Even
the
like
same
little cousin. Why are you put if you're in jail for a white collar crime or a misdemeanor? Why are you in any type of capacity in any place with any felons?
makes no sense. It's
And
literally
you're
a
just
problem
like
that
that.
they created themselves, and obviously the people have expressed crazy amount of upset by it, and then their solution was to release criminals and defund police. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let me not dive into that. It's just we have a policing problem that needs addressing bad. And I brought up the marijuana because we have a nice segue into this crazy topic. California woman convicted of fatally stabbing boyfriend 108 times during a cannabis-induced psychosis. Ian, did you pull up the article? A cannabis-induced psychosis. So we have two articles. They're both the same thing. One kind of talks about what happened, and the other article kind of talks about like what the after effects of it. So let's read this and let's talk about it. A California woman was convicted of involuntary manslaughter Friday in the 2018 death of her boyfriend.
I knew that was gonna.
I wish Ian zoom in on John's face, make it the whole screen.
I was looking right at him because I was waiting for the crunch. As soon as you hit involuntary manslaughter, the crunch happened, and I was like,
Cannabis-induced stabbed of him over 100 times during a cannabis-induced psychosis. Remember that phrasing, cannabis-induced psychosis. The jury took less than 4 hours to find Bryn Spetcher, 32, guilty of killing her partner, Chad O'Melia, as she sobbed during the court appearance, according to KTLA 5. The couple had only been together for a few weeks when Spetcher attacked. I'm just call her when I'm gonna say her every time I see her name. When she attacked him after she took his 2 hits from his bong, a smoking device regularly used for marijuana, in May of 2018. The girl then went into a psychotic episode and stabbed the boyfriend 108 times, eventually killing the 26-year-old. She also stabbed herself repeatedly, the official said. Officers arrived at the residence in Thousand Oaks following the morning to find the girl screaming hysterically next to her boyfriend's blood-soaked body, still holding the knife. O'Melia was pronounced dead at the scene. When the responding officer attempted to disarm her, she plunged a bread knife into her neck, according to law enforcement. Where does it get to the point where she stabs the dog too, Ian? I thought she's supposed to stab the dog. Is that deeper? Because stabbing here, death, Little Midnight. So she allegedly told investigators that she then began hearing sinister-like voices in her head before stabbing him to. Oh, it was? I just got too impatient. Highlight it for me. Did you hear me?
yeah, he did it.
Oh, okay. My bad. Sorry. I apologize. So right there, Special also stabbed her dog during the rampage. Thank you, Ian. Sorry, my computer's acting up, being slow and reacting slow.
I'm blessed.
So you said you're blessed. Sinister voices, blah blah blah. Under California law, a person is seen as responsible for their actions when impaired by drugs or Before we go to the next article, I want to read this one because I want y'all to keep this one in mind. Under California law, a person is seen as responsible for their actions when impaired by drugs or alcohol unless their intoxication is involuntary. So her involuntary manslaughter conviction
She
typically
took
carries
the
a
hit
sentence of
of the
around
bong, no?
4 years in state prison. Despite this, I want my son back. Okay, the father, yeah, it's heartbreaking. The father, I just want my son back, and that's not going to happen. The father told the ally outside the courtroom the verdict. Ultimately, unfortunately, there are only people that have taken a loss here. There's no winning here. And okay, so that I like John's reaction. John was like, "Good." Now let's get to I didn't mean to set it up this way, John. I swear, it just happened to come out this way. So let's get to the next article. California audiologist who stabbed boyfriend 108 times in cannabis-induced psychosis gets a slap on the wrist. I don't know if he walked out on purpose or if he had to just... You okay, John? Come back, John. We gotta read this. We gotta read this, John. Oh God! All right, let me get to reading this. The California woman who was convicted of killing her boyfriend, stabbing him 108 times during a cannabis-induced psychosis, received a slap on the wrist Tuesday. Bry Spetcher, whatever her name, Bry, was sentenced to 2 years probation and was ordered to perform 100 hours of community service.
Probation? You said this was in Canada?
This is in California.
This is in California.
Cali. Found guilty of killing her new boyfriend, according to the Ventura County Star. Ventura County Superior Court Judge David Worley ruled that Spetcher had no control over her actions when she entered into a psychotic episode and stabbed O'Malley, 26 years old, repeatedly in his Thousand Oaks apartment. Experts for the prosecution and defense both found that marijuana bong hit given to Spetcher threw the woman into a deadly psychotic episode. From that point forward, she had no control over her actions, according to the outlet. And remember what I said to keep in mind of the last article, that under California law, you're still responsible. Apparently not anymore. Apparently that's subjective. Had been seeing each other for a few. It's at this point it's probably repeating information that we already know. I just wanted to point out how she basically got a slap on the wrist, psychotic break episode that they're claiming, and the excuse for it was she had no control. Let's get to the conversation. John, I'm gonna let you go first.
So, in a court by jury, they just pick guilty or not. The judge still hands out the extent of the
Yes.
the
Yeah. So the jury determines if you're guilty or innocent, and
chances
depending on
are
the
this
verdict,
girl's family's well off. Because the type of lawyer you need to spin this for you to even get the, I don't know, dude.
I mean, it says right here what the lawyer
She got
argued.
2 years probation. So
They're
she's not even
saying-
going to jail at all.
No, she's not going to jail at all.
Just 2 years probation
I think some community service.
and 100 hours community service.
Here, I'll read real quick what Ian was alluding to. So Spetcher's lawyer had argued that their client, who was an inexperienced
Their
pot
client?
smoker,
Their
became
client,
involuntarily intoxicated
multiple
at the
lawyers.
time of the killing after O'Malley had pressed her to take another bong hit after not getting high off the first hit.
How
So
we know
keep-
that's how it happened?
The
The
I take
whole case depends on that. And y'all gonna believe her? She don't know what she did. She just killed somebody.
she's the only one left. They have to believe her.
Oh, this she should say she didn't do it.
I mean, that's basically what she said by saying this was my. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I tried to elaborate here. What do we all learn from this case? All you have to argue is I'm an inexperienced marijuana pot smoker, so therefore I had no control over my actions, so therefore I'm not responsible for my actions. That's wild. That's wild.
I remember now where I saw this case because I saw it earlier in the week.
It's real. Are you
There's a
sure this is
YouTube
real?
producer. His name is no. This is real. His name is Nate the Lawyer. I think he's a YouTuber, and he broke down this case. And one of the things that he says is like the hardest like contradiction, like Gene is pointing out, is that like when you hurt somebody or you kill somebody when you're drunk and driving, you get you get manslaughter charges. You know what I mean? And like this is the same situation. Like even if she wasn't in her right mind, she willingly intoxicated herself.
Willingly intoxicated herself. Crucial point there, Doc. Willingly intoxicated herself. And
Yeah.
but hold on real quick to that. And she made this argument. She may had an immediate adverse reaction to the second hit and had to go to the bathroom and panic for carrying. Oh no, it was I think before that. It was the same. Sorry, Ian. It was the same spot where she said where the boyfriend pressed her to take another bong hit. So she's trying to argue that it wasn't out of her willingness choice. She was pressed to do it. She was peer pressured, if you would. So therefore, she's still not responsible because it wasn't her willing decision.
In that same sentence, she's also admitting that he probably smoked the same weed that she did. Why did he not suffer the same adverse effect?
Because she is not an
Freaky.
experienced smoker, John. She's inexperienced. I just want to say the obvious thing that we're all thinking here. She did not smoke marijuana. Whatever that was that they were smoking
She
was
probably
either
smoked.
it was laced with
Probably smoked.
something or it was not marijuana.
Or maybe she actually
Well,
wanted to
she
kill the
wanted to kill
guy,
him, bro.
and
Yeah, fuck that.
that shit, she just went for it.
An excuse that worked out.
108 times off the week. So, question. She says it made her do it. That she said she remembers doing it. She said she heard voices that told her to do it.
Sinister voices, she said.
But like, dude, anybody who's drunk
tired of
wouldn't
this
be
shit,
able to get
bro.
away with stuff like this. Like,
I'm so tired of this shit. They're not even trying. This is a bad one. This is not even like I can't even have like a reasonable reaction to this. It makes no sense.
It kind of
It
goes a little
literally makes no
no
sense.
sense
She got 2 years probation and 100 hours community service.
for
I
killing
know
somebody.
I know people that have more probation than that, and whatever crime they committed had nothing to do with violence, nothing to do with drugs,
Yeah.
and they're still.
everything I saw that argued as to why she should have gotten the sentence that she got to kept pointing back to the fact that she was stabbing herself when the cops walked
that
in.
was another point. That was another point. Did she stab her? Did she stab him with a butter knife?
I don't know. They just said that she
but
stabbed him.
they made sure to note that she stabbed herself with a butter knife. So somewhere in her insanity, she realized, let me not stab myself with the same knife that I stabbed him with. Why
It
was
wasn't
her knife a butter knife?
I agree with you, but it wasn't a butter knife. It was a bread knife. The bread knife's got the little serrated sides.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a little bit sharper, but they're saying stab, and look at the wounds though. Like if you go up, like go up Ian to the very top where she is. Ian. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was reading it also, Ian. I'll address it after this.
Keep going. Right, go down, just to where you can see her, like the wounds on her neck. That's not stabbing. That's serration.
Yeah, I agree with Doc.
That's what threw me off because they said stabbing, and I was like,
maybe she made an attempt to stab, but because it was a butter knife, it just wasn't penetrating.
Yeah, because I was like, if it would have been stabbed, like I was thinking, like even just like a pick, like little small pokes would create that kind of effect. But to me, it looks like serration. Maybe there's a deeper wound somewhere in there, and I just can't see it from the angle. But yeah, it looks more like a slash of serration than it does an actual like self, like plunge into the neck.
You know what it looks like? It looked like she planned on doing that and shit so she could say that it was self-defense, and then she came up with a worse lie last second.
I kind of
Oh,
agree with
she's
you,
not.
man. I kind of feel like maybe the cops were walking in and she grabbed the bread knife and was just like, and then they were like, "What are you doing, Lemon?" She was like, playing up an act or something like that.
She was sober enough for the police while she was crazy with a knife. Why did she attack the police? Why did the
Yeah.
little voices? Why did the little voices to her attack the people with guns?
Also, it says that they walked in the morning. How long was she high for? Like, when did she smoke? Like,
She's smoking dick. That's what she's smoking.
There's so much wrong with this. It's like, let me go to the end because Ian addressed the ending. I want to address it also. Scroll down, Ian. So Chad O'Melia's father, Sean, accused. This is the boyfriend's father, by the way, just because the names for me were confusing. I don't know if they're confusing for you all, but this is the boyfriend's father speaking. Accused Worley, the judge, of being biased and claimed following his ruling that the judge set a dangerous precedent. Quote, he just gave everyone in the state of California who smokes marijuana a license to kill someone. I kind of agree with that. Quote, there is no winner in this tragedy. There is no winner in this tragedy, said Brendan O'Melia, the victim's uncle. There can be, however, accountability. And this is what got me. This is what makes my blood boil. The judge for the woman, Spector's lawyer, Bob Schwartz, called Worley's ruling against his client the right and courageous thing. Our system is corrupt, and this is why I want to burn it down.
They paid him well. There's no way. They paid him well. That's why I said, who's her family? What's her last name?
Spetcher. Yeah, Spejcher. Spetcher. How do you pronounce that? I have no idea. Spetcher.
I mean, I'm just asking, and I'm not insinuating anything. Is that a Jewish last name?
I have no idea if that's a Jewish last name, to be honest with you. I don't think so. Here, I'll look it up real quick.
I can't see it. And it sounded like you said sure, or something like that.
It's Spechjer, Spetcher.
No, that sounds German.
Okay, Spetcher, surname, origin, meaning, blah blah blah. If my computer would load, because right now it's being fucking annoying. Italy? It's Italian, I think.
Italiano. The mob.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. But again,
somewhere along the path, something else intervened. Obviously, right?
I mean, to me, obviously, but like, what do we know? But I don't know, man.
I do actually agree with the dad, man. Like, it sets a precedence that nobody else is accountable for that.
Question. Do people who have used that argument and failed in the state of California, can they appeal and use this case as a...
That's a good point.
I guess they could now.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're standing, or is it standing,
yeah.
or is it precedent? They have precedence now. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I think so. And we're not lawyers, by the way. We're not lawyers, so this is all, what's the word? Circumstantial, I think is the word. I'm trying to use lawyer speak here. We're not lawyers, so take everything we're saying with a grain of salt. Do your own research.
Then you could also use that same appeal. Like I said, we're hypothetically speaking, but we could also use that same appeal to if somebody robbed and killed somebody, depending on how they were charged and what plea they accepted, they could also appeal that. And once you remove murder from the whole equation, there's a lot of people who can just get all based on time served and if their charges are downgraded or if, oh no, dude, that's a crazy call. And a judge should actually be just
barred.
What do they call them? Unbenched?
Disbarred.
Disbarred. Oh, same as a lawyer?
Because judges are lawyers. They just climb the hierarchy. Or are you talking about just like they can still be a lawyer, they just can't be a judge? Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh, they can't be a judge.
Oh, then probably taken off remove their gavel, take the gavel away from them or something like that.
No more robes, nigga.
No more robes. No more pounding that gavel. Be honest with you, though, unfortunately, only a ruling like this can happen in California. Maybe even New York. Because the fact that this ruling happened in California, in my mind, makes sense. Am I wrong for that?
What city did this take place in?
What did it say?
Was it a major city? I think you said Pomona. Did I hear Pomona? Or was that
No,
the
it wasn't
last topic?
Pomona. It was something else.
Ventura County, that's the only thing they're saying.
Yeah, Ventura. Here, I can look up Ventura County. Let me look up Ventura County. Is it
sounds
Ventura?
like-
Yeah, Ventura.
That sounds like LA, brother.
Ventura County is in southern part, which is located closest to. Oh shit! No, it's not LA.
Like San Diego?
It's between LA and Santa Barbara. It's near Ventura, Oxnard. It's kind of like
Smaller?
You said what?
Smaller? Is it a smaller
Yeah, it
county?
looks like kind of like a rural area. It's not necessarily a city. It's like if anything, it's like a small city in California. It's like a rural area.
I think that makes it interesting because you have less courthouses, less judges on those circuits.
Largest city
jurors
is
to pull from.
Oxnard and Thousand Oaks. So it's Thousand Oaks and Oxnard. That's the city.
It's a coastal area.
Yeah, it is a coastal area.
Sound like the fix is in. Small town, small city. Fix is in. I don't know.
I don't know either. I default to
I hope somebody box her face in. Oh, she's not even gonna be in jail. So
Nope, don't go in.
Yeah, she ain't going in. She ain't gonna be touched. Yeah.
she bonded out quicker than people. Never mind. Let's not start.
Let it out, John.
No, she bonded out quicker than people who have unpaid parking tickets.
That's wild, isn't it? Isn't that wild? Yo, I have so much to say on this, but I'm not trying to rant. But this is wild. The only thing I'll say, I said it already,
Chicken sandwich.
but I repeat myself. I'm hungry too. I haven't showered yet either. I don't understand how people I'm a leak here. And I'm going to go back specifically to you guys in our conversation. I'm going to address the conversations we've had in the past. I know y'all don't agree with my perception of letting the system burn and just starting anew. Because y'all are, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not characterizing y'all's stance correctly, is y'all are skeptical about pretty much not necessarily the after effects, but the things are gonna it's gonna be bad. Bad things are gonna happen if we have to revamp everything. It's not gonna be pretty. I acknowledge that y'all seem not to be okay with that. But my issue is something needs to change, because if something doesn't change, I think, and I'm only going to use this, I have other examples, but I'm only going to use this one to keep it in context. Stuff like this is going to continue to happen, where you have lawyers arguing, and then I don't even say the argument, just out of his own mouth saying that this ruling by the judge was right and courageous, the audacity. And the judge himself handing down this ruling thinking this was he did a good job. And as John pointed out, and he's 100% right too, you have people with unpaid parking tickets spending more time in jail than she's going to spend more time. And she actually took a life, whether it was accidental or not, doesn't even matter. The system has to burn. It's corrupt. It's the system is messed. The system's got to burn.
The only reason I don't believe in the system burning, and it's actually more of a question, because we may just have overlapping theories. In my opinion, no matter if you reset it, you have to go through. We don't know the recipe for success, as far as managing all this shit, managing all these people, managing anything. So it's my belief that we're still on the path, no matter how bleak things may seem. We're still on the path because we can contextualize the past, past mistakes that have been made. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if we do a full reset, those same mistakes that were made in the past will end up happening again, and will almost reset where we were going.
I see.
If that
Okay,
makes sense.
I see what. So all right,
But
let
where we
me.
may make sense, where we may be saying the same thing, you may just feel like the reset is part of that path, whereas I'm characterizing the reset as a full stop and like wipe.
So let me characterize specifically what I mean by reset, because and I don't know if this is what you think when I say this, because it sounds like this. I don't mean reset is let's go all the way back to the drafting of the Constitution. I mean, let's go back to a certain point. Let's say, for the sake of argument, when we drafted, was it the 14th Amendment? That's because slavery and stuff like that. Like, there's obviously certain things we've done that have been good things, good amendments, good laws, good whatever. But I think, because I haven't analyzed this 100%, so obviously like I got some fault here. But I would argue if we analyze it, we can pinpoint a certain spot in time where from this point on we've lost the plot. Let's start over from here. Everything past this point, wipe it clean. It's like so. Speak.
I think the only problem then is I agree with you then. To be honest with you, I do agree with you. But the only problem is no matter what we're doing, we're gonna need a voice for it's gonna have to be communicated through a leader in some sort of it's gonna have to be organized by some sort of leadership. The problem is almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like how do you have good leader how do you start with good leadership if you're trying to make good leadership? Like it's how you know what I'm saying? Like
It's
who
I
organizes
do get what
this
you're
if we
saying. I think a
wipe it
better
all?
analogy would how do we fix the system? How do we fix a corrupt system with corrupt leaders?
Correct. But even if it's non-corrupt leaders, who's gonna organize us getting non-corrupt leaders? Even if we wipe all the corrupt leaders off, who's gonna organize it? Who's gonna trust that person or these people? And how do they get into that position?
And the
It
issue
would be
also with
through
that
politics.
is well, the issue with that too is people are trying. I'm not saying that the people are non-corrupt or whatever, but if people were to try, the problem is the avenue to get your voice out is also corrupt.
Politics, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So that part itself is
But
almost
that's
like
why burn it down. That's why like burn it down. I know
but
it's
then
extreme, and
but then
I know I'm speaking extremely hyperbolic, and I don't literally mean burn it down. I just mean we have to do something. Like there's some chaff that's got to be cut, burnt off, something. I don't know what it is, but it's just
because
not working.
it just I don't know. It just I know you said you're not being literally burning down, but when you say it, it just reminds me of like watching like The Last Kingdom and all that stuff and like realizing like England itself was broken into many like you had Mercia, you had Essex, you had Wessex, you had all these different regions in England. And do you know what it took to unite all of England? It's like,
Years of
damn,
wars, years of wars.
if we burn it down, we may not catch the fire. We may burn off a little bit more than we need to, and then end up in a state where we can't even grow. Like it may be West United States, old United States, and it may just be what it is. Like
That's fair. I'm like when I say my points, I understand that I when I speak my point, I acknowledge that I focus a lot on the potential good that come of it, but I'm not naive enough to not acknowledge the potential bad that can come from it. I just come from the side that I think the good is worth the risk. Because as we're going right now, I don't see how we fix this. I genuinely don't see how we fix this. The system's so corrupt that stuff like this happens, and I can only like something as small as this can happen, and I hate to bring it up, but something as grand as what's going on with Trump in New York can happen, and that's also a crazy misuse of the law also. Like, the system's corrupt, and we expect justice from this? We trust these corrupt people to exact justice? Like, if we don't want to burn it down, then at least have to fire them all and exile them, because I don't I again I acknowledge that I don't know what the solution is, my solution could probably be the wrong solution, but at the very least, we have to do something.
Absolutely.
Something
We can
has to be
identify that
done.
we need something, though. Yeah.
I think the hard part though is like when you get people that are fueled up about a situation to a point where like I'll just take what you just said right now. You said them a lot. What is them? Like they're
Nancy
not
Pelosi, Chuck Schumer,
they're not gonna wear
Adam
like
Schiff. Who are the
t-shirts that
Republicans? I'm
have
naming
like
some
the
Republicans
skulls and
also.
stuff like that, and you're like, oh, those are clearly the bad guys. Those are the stormtroopers. Like and even like once like the purge starts, those people are just gonna make that line even blurrier for like survival or what have you, or even just I mean it happens in history whenever inquisitions have begun, like people just start disappearing, you know what I mean? Like not even because they've been caught and taken away, but because like they realize that like it's not something that is easily obvious. And I'm not saying that because it should drive people to try to categorize them and stuff like that, to actually take action on this kind of thing. I'm just saying that like it's more so the chaos of just interacting in a society, and we'll always have that, which is difficult.
To a degree, I agree with you, but I also disagree because I think. What do you mean by it's just interacting with society? Like to what degree? Like what part of this? Like this just happens in a society. This is just what happens when you have a society. Like what part of that is that?
Well, I mean, you're going to have a judge interpret a murder incorrectly. You're going to have like situations happen like that because it happens whenever you're a part of any kind of organization. You have so many viewpoints, so many different things. And yeah, I agree. Like there's probably even some underlying corruption where there's like money being, moved between hands and stuff like that. And I'm not saying like, oh, we should just be like, well, it is what it is. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just saying like, you also at some point have to be like, fuck, well, this is also just life in civilization. Like, a corrupt judge, this isn't the first corrupt judge ever, you know what I mean? And there's been thousands and thousands of years of probable like, government corruption throughout our history. Even before major religions, I'm pretty sure there was some bad decisions made by people who were higher up, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm just saying it. Like it's kind of at some point like a human problem. It's just a part of our condition.
Well, I agree with that. What you said, I agree with that. I think my issue, it goes back to the arguments also we had in the past where it comes down to federal and state. We have given too much power to the state. This one specifically is a state issue in California. Good luck to them. That's why I said it makes sense it's happening in California, because that's a very liberal progressive state. And it makes sense that a liberal progressive state would just give a slap on the wrist to a manslaughter case. Like to me, that makes sense. That checks out. I'm more upset when it comes to federal stuff. And that is why, strictly speaking, federally, it's gotten so out of hand. It's because originally the idea of America originally did not imagine so much power that current federal government has to ever have. If that's why I tried to preface, to be more specific when I say my points, that there's a certain check mark we can point to and say, go back to this. And I think that point goes to whenever we started giving the federal government more power than it actually deserves and needed, go back to that. Because I think biasly, maybe naively, that's when we started to see a big downhill or uptick in corruption, because we had federal politicians having too much sway on state issues. That was never supposed to be the case. Never.
I also think during the time, there's no way they could foresee how many issues or how many things would need to be addressed. There's no way for them to make laws for every single issue or every single thing that we'd have in the future.
I
So
don't
I
think you're
feel like there was
supposed to either.
exactly, but I also think there was an area, an unclaimed space, if you will, that the government realized that either the people would take, as in managing the government and how it does operate, or the government would take, as in slowly but surely taking away rights that we slick didn't know we had, or operating in ways that we slick didn't know were possible until you took it away. So I feel like the government got more organized first than the people, if that makes any sense. It was almost like
yeah,
a race to claim space, if you will. And
power.
we're finally realizing now, like, as the government's on our toes, like, hold on, they're too close now. Like, it's you're the things you're saying now affect me today. They affect me tomorrow. So, like, I think we're just at a point now where we're going to be contentious, and we're going to have to Gene's point, we're going to have to push back and gain some more of that space back, as well as we have to remind the government like there is consequences, and it's not even like a violent thing. We're talking about actually using your voting rights or whatever it is, protesting, whatever it is, but there is consequences for not behaving properly, because right now they're just fake consequences.
I actually do agree with that, and not to go even. Well, I mean, we're gonna go to it just by me mentioning it, but not to go like too deep into it because it's already getting a little bit later. But like I think a lot of the zeitgeist that people are feeling right now, with the current election coming up, where people are like, "These are our candidates." Like, I think if this isn't handled correctly, the country itself as a people will be like, "Okay, next one, we actually want not the oldest fucking farts in the room. Like, we actually want capable leaders who aren't just running off of clout or this like contest of like this guy is falling asleep, this guy can't shut up. Like, I think
What
we
was the
actually
joke, Doc?
won.
We have a president who can't speak and a president who can't shut up.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I agree. Like, and I think it's so funny. Like Jon Stewart. Like Jon Stewart's obviously like he's always been mostly left, but he like came out for the first time on the Daily Show and was just showed everybody like these are our candidates and just asked people like, are you okay with this? Like he just pointed it out to everybody. And dude, he just got attacked from both sides, and he was just like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "I'm just showing to the people, like, this
Because
is what
both,
we're being dealt with. Like, we've gotten to a position where we are being handed cards,
yeah,
as opposed to us actually putting the cards in the politicians' hands and making them choose from that."
because it's
There's
corrupt.
also,
It's
you know what it is?
corrupt.
You know what it is too? You know what it is? I think, okay, based off what you just said, I think it's because there's an internalized path to becoming a politician. It's not external. So I believe as soon as you get on that route, it becomes based on who you know, how you work within the whatever party system that you have, how you navigate that. It's too internal.
Remember
So
the
you have
Carrie
like
Lake
one-offs,
audio
you have
footage.
one-offs where people get more popular by doing things where uh, it puts them in the public eye. But you have to even think that Democratic, I think it was the governor of New Jersey, he literally saved somebody, ran to a burning building and saved somebody. Like, and then like a month later, saved somebody in a car crash. And they weren't even fake. Like, it actually happened. And he still didn't win.
That's
Based on
wild.
popularity, you would think,
That's
oh, he's just a
wild.
popular guy. But he didn't win. Like, the
But,
man had been
but I
on
don't blame
Oprah.
the people though. But I don't blame the people. I blame the media. It goes back again. The media's corrupt. Because why wasn't something like that, if not national news, state news?
Made the
Like, how
news,
did the
but what I'm
whole
saying is,
state not know about that?
no, but I'm saying it made the news, right? He ran for president before. It made the news, but my point is because the Democratic Party or the Republic, he was Democratic candidate because the
Yeah,
Democratic Party already had who they wanted
you're
to
right.
run for the party because it's so
Fair.
internalized. There's nothing he could have done to become the lead candidate for him to even really be in the presidential race for real. So like the path is too internalized to be a politician. It's like we'll do enough as soon as you get like on a local level. If you get support of the mayor, you get seen at a couple of events with the mayor. She introduces you to people who have money who can help you fundraise. Then all of a sudden, you have a marketing team behind you as far as marketing yourself and branding yourself into the local neighborhood. So you can either become a city councilman, whatever it is, on that level. Most of the time, the real people who actually really try and change things actually stay on city council, like stay on those type of levels, because that's what they can actually feel like they can affect with their hands right there in front of them. All these other people, like, they're put in this path by a favor, by knowing somebody, by your alma mater, and then from there on, it's all the people you know. It has nothing to do with us. It's how you're just marketed to us, and whichever flavor we like of the same fucking candy.
Yeah, I genuinely think though people are waking up to that, and that it gives me hope for the future. That in the future it'll be different.
I
Me too.
I don't have that same hope, but I pray for
Hey, I said this 4 years ago when we were voting based on these same two niggas.
it.
I got yelled at.
What'd you say?
You're not voting. I said, I'm not voting for none of these guys. None of them. Mm-mm.
Honestly, I kind
Not
of
these two.
I've actually been giving this some thought where I kind of agree with you, where I'm like, I kind of want to abstain just because I don't want either candidate. And I feel like making a decision because it's my civic duty, it feels like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a not exploitation, but like a
Exploitation makes a little bit of sense.
yeah. Like I'm being held hostage and being told to make a call when I don't want to make a call, and so I have the option to not make the call.
I got a question for y'all then, based on what you just said. I have a question. So do you think, right? Because this is America, if you create the space for something, the whatever it is will actually just pop out of nowhere. Somebody will work on it, it'll be there. So now there's a vacuum, there's a space for what we're craving as a genuine candidate to run for president, maybe in the next term, right? Do you think that candidate gets created by them and then pushed as an independent candidate? Or do you think an organic candidate actually pops up?
Nope.
I
I think
well, I can kind of see the argument for both. Like I can see that pessimistic argument being like it's created by them, but like I said, with the hopeful mentality of people being more awakened to it, I feel like the downside would be at least mitigated. But I also think like if an organic candidate was to rise, they're still going to be
uphill battles.
pressured from the top.
Yeah.
From there, so either way, I feel like you're going to end up in the same situation where you're either bringing somebody up and they're getting corruption from the top down or whatever.
We're seeing it right now. Like this exact scenario John brought up. It's literally happening right now in the Republican Party. I would, at least in my opinion and from my perspective, I would argue this example is what's going on based off the question John asked, which is between Vivek and Nikki Haley. I think Vivek was an organic, authentic candidate who is actually a leader, good head on his shoulders, smart, like I think I said authentic again, just and actually probably a good person who should be in politics, or at the very least our president. I was 100% Vivek. I'm so upset he dropped out. And Nikki Haley is obviously being propped up by the institution. They want Nikki Haley. It's clear as day they want her. So that's why I lean more towards the pessimistic route, because Vivek was the obvious organic choice that everyone wants. A great leader, smart, well-read, like all these things, articulate, personable, empathetic, compassionate, all these things you want. He had it. But no one showed up for him. Like in the which caucus or what I think it was Ohio. He only got 7%. That is so hard. It was so heartbreaking how little he got. He got beat by Nikki Haley, 22%. And all of that because the institution actually propped her up. So that's why, unfortunately, like Doc called it the pessimistic, optimistic viewpoint. And he's right. That is what it is. And I do lean more towards the pessimistic viewpoint. The institution, the people in there, whoever you want to think they are, I use they.
Organic.
I say they
look organic.
They'll make it exactly. And I say they because it's not a one person. It's a cabal of people. And they do whatever they need to do to stay in power and to maintain control.
And it's crazy because the machine itself,
it's
crazy because the machine itself is older than the people running it, but they all keep walking into the same warehouse, opening the same door, and doing the same dumbass shit.
Is it the same?
The machine does not work. It's people. All of it is just a agreed upon idea, but it's just people still doing this dumb shit. Republican Party, the Democratic Party, that shit don't mean shit. Those are just names for things. Like those things within themselves are not good or bad. Those are names for things.
I'll say bad. I'll go on the leap and say Republicans and Democrats are bad.
No, not the people. I'm talking about
Oh,
the words themselves.
oh, the words themselves. Gotcha.
They're just a
Okay,
way to identify things. But
gotcha,
those things
gotcha.
aren't bad. It's the
Yeah,
people that are
yeah,
bad. So how
yeah.
do bad people keep running the machine? That's what we have to ask ourselves, and that's what we need to deal with.
It,
But
it
I
my
really need to fuck this Chick-fil-A up.
I got you. My final point, and we'll call it quits, is just it goes back to my point
Right.
about states' rights and federal rights. The reason why it's such a contentious issue when it comes to presidential elections is because we actually gave the federal government, the executive branch, as much power as it had to where whoever the president is actually has too much power over what happens in our daily lives. That was never supposed to be the case. If we only did that, I would be okay with that. And I think that would fix a lot of issues, is reduce the executive powers because they were not supposed to be as powerful as they are today. That's my last point. Anyone
And
else?
I'm good. Plus, our president can't read.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be weird in the next few years. We'll see what happens, man.
All right.
Crazy times.
Crazy times. Thank you all for tuning in to Fake Deep, thinking and laughing with us about an Acorn, making a cop stop, drop, and roll, about some crazy weed-induced psychosis and getting only a slap on the wrist for a manslaughter charge, which is
Not even a
wild.
slap on the wrist.
And
Fucking
thank
hand job.
something. And also thank y'all for putting up with our political rants that devolve sometimes. I can't help it. I'm sorry, guys. That one's my fault. I take the blame for that. But thank y'all for putting up with it. If you haven't liked the video, please like the video. If you haven't left a comment, please leave a comment. Let us know how much you hate us or how much you thought these topics were funny or any other topics you want us to address. Also, share the video. Let's get more people in these conversations because they're fun, and more perspectives, more opinions help us come to some greater understanding, if that's not naive to say. We'll see y'all next week, Tuesday. Peace.
Peace out, y'all. Yo, thanks for making it to the end. We really appreciate it and hope you all enjoyed the show.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and the notification bell to get notified when we post our clips.
Follow us on Twitter at PodcastFDT. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are all Fake Deep Thinking. Check us out, please.
FDT. Peace, y'all.
Peace.